Now those rally fans are getting pretty fed up with seeing the Audis and the Peugeots win everything. So this year there's a new British supercar with a great chance of beating the world. It's an opportunity of restoring the dominance that Britain last held in the sport in the 60s, the great days of the Mini.
From 9 starting points, including Russia for the first time, the rally drivers converge for the hardest part of the route, the special stages between Reims and Monte Carlo itself. Snow, snow, quick, quick snow. And quickest of them all, the Mini Cooper of Hopkirk and Lyddon, number 37. They beat the much-fancied American Ford Falcons, Jungfeld's car finishing second.
Well, the film looks pretty dated, and so too does the car. Hard to think that this little thing won the Monte Carlo Rally, but this is the actual car that took Timo Mäkinen to victory in that year, 1965, one of a hat-trick of wins on the event, and it now has a rather more sedate existence in the British Motor Heritage Museum at Syon Park. It's as hard as ever to get out of, and it's also a quaint contrast with the so-called supercars, the turbocharged four-wheel drive monsters that so dominate the sport today. But a distant cousin of this, the MG Metro 6R4, is all set to challenge those supercars on the RAC Rally. It puts Austin Rover and Britain back in the front line for the first time since the great days of the Mini, although getting there certainly hasn't been easy. At their plant at Cowley, lines of Montegos are testament to efficient mass production. But the 200 futuristic shapes in a corner of the car park, bearing only a slight resemblance to Metros, are testament to the rather eccentric world of top-class rallying. But achieve success in that world, and the car will sell itself in every continent. Austin Rover were coaxed back into rallying by the huge marketing advantage gained by the championship success of Audi and Peugeot. The MG Metro would be the basis of their challenge, modified not on the drawing board as much as on computer. But in rallying, building a car and making it win is only part of the problem. Once the final version of the 6R4 had been sorted, 200 identical cars had to be built to comply with World Championship regulations. And you couldn't do that on the busy Metro production line. So for the workforce at Longbridge, a massive challenge as each car had to be virtually hand-built. Longbridge made the deadline literally with hours to spare, and Austin Rover were ready to take on the world. The car was built by craftsmen and would be driven by one. Tony Pond, one of the most experienced men in the whole of British motorsport, part of a team that also included another British star, Malcolm Wilson. But it was Pond who did the development, and the most satisfying way to test a car is to win rallies, which Pond did on a range of national events. The car was impossible to catch, exhilarating to drive.
Well, this is the most exciting of all the cars. It's on a different plane to a conventional car. The traction, the braking, and the things you can basically do with it. And it's completely removed, and a joy to drive.
In what respect? I mean, compare the sensation of sitting behind the wheel of that and sitting behind the wheel of a conventional road car.
Oh, well, the 400 horsepower against probably what a quick road car's got about 150. It can do 60 miles an hour in just around 3 seconds, probably a bit less than 3 seconds, and 100 miles an hour in 200 yards. That's very, very quick. In fact, when you've been away from the car and just been doing your normal motoring and get back into it, it quite frightens you the first time you unleash it again. You have to start to learn just what it can do and how quickly it can eat up a particular distance.
How do you handle that power, that performance?
Gently. You find with a supercar that if you mess around with it and play with it, it'll bite you, and you've got to take charge of it. And the only way to do that is be aggressive and get hold of it and drive it. Otherwise it will bite back. It is very, very noisy. That is the noisiest rally car I've ever sat in and ever experienced. In fact, even our intercoms that we've used in cars over the years without any problems won't work in there. It's just a different noise. I'm convinced the car is a package to win the event. and that's what I expect of the car, and I would like to win the rally. And if I can't win the rally, then I expect my teammate to win the rally. Yeah, and the RAC is a big thing for us to do straight away. It's the first World Championship rally, and it's a long one. I think by the middle of next year we should have our act very much together and be coming up with some good solid performances. And I think then the true potential of the car will really shine. But it's quite capable of winning the RAC now.
So a 400 horsepower non-turbo engine giving astonishing speed. There's four-wheel drive and a £40,000 price tag. The 6R4 has virtually nothing in common with a standard Metro. But Austin Rover still consider it a marketing investment. The cost of that investment can only be guessed at, but Peugeot spent well over £7 million to win the championship this year. And as a result, Peugeot reckoned their sales of the 205 increased 15%. So for Austin Rover, the car is built, the investment is made. Now it all depends on the man behind the wheel.
Tony is perhaps the most relaxed character you could find, and that's very important in the team because he may be relaxed when you see him, but when he's actually driving, he's very far from relaxed. But his relaxation or his relaxed attitude helps considerably the rest of the team, because we have to be able to react to whatever it is that he tells us, even if it's something quite serious about the car, and not panic. And Tony, being reasonably relaxed, helps us to do that.
You never see him lose his cool?
Well, you saw him, I think, on the RAC Rally last year, where he had quite a serious accident, but he was fairly unperturbed by it.
For Pond, the accident meant a badly dented car and a completely demolished pride. After a string of first-day failures, he approached last year's opening very gently, but confident enough to sport a camera in the car. That he now regrets.
All right, let's get out and have a look.
Rob Arthur trying to restore a bit of calm, but the first day jinx had struck again for Pond, and his co-driver reaches the inevitable conclusion.
It's gone, isn't it?
It's always probably the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me, really, because everybody you speak to says, "Hey, you're not going to hit a tree," or "What are you going to do this year?" And okay, I mean, you have to accept it. I mean, it happened, and it was on film, which is another problem. But the thing is that everybody is quite ready to forget the other results that you've had. So, I mean, we'll get round it. It's no real problem. We'll win it this year.
Well, I think I remember the recording equipment was still on, but it wasn't quite so calm after I disconnected it.
Rob Arthur had reason to lose his cool as well. As co-driver, weeks of preparation had resulted in guiding his man round just half a dozen corners. But Rob's been alongside Pond since 1982 and knows exactly what he's capable of.
He's the best driver I've sat next to. I've sat next to a few. Very, very good, very quick. He has, I suppose it's got to be an additional sense. The car seems to be an extension of himself rather than he's been taught to drive the car. It's quite incredible.
Tony Pond not only lays claim to being the best all-round driver in Britain, he's gone out and proved it. The evidence, his hat-trick of wins in the rally sprint competition, which pits rally men against other top drivers in a series of car tests. What he really enjoyed was knocking off the Grand Prix men in the road race section. Just listen to the famous names trailing in his wake here.
And Watson goes through, Watson on the grass. Watson takes the lead. Up into second place goes Pond, down to fourth position goes Nigel Mansell. What an incredible drive. Into Redgate now, and it's Tony Pond in the lead.
It's one of motorsport's oldest arguments. Who is the top all-round driver, the rally man or the Grand Prix star? Pond has no doubt.
Well, I'm going to upset a lot of Grand Prix drivers. It's the rally man. I mean, the rally driver can do both, and I don't think the Grand Prix driver is at home in a rally car. Well, I'm sure he's not.
Pond may envy the Grand Prix men their superstar reputations, but he's coming close to their lifestyle. He's almost as accomplished at the controls of a helicopter as a rally car and delights in frightening his co-pilot as much as his co-driver.
goes, TOT.
Have ignition.
Stabilised. Pressures are coming up. Gas produced.
Pond is single, utterly dedicated, and shortly to become a neighbour of Nigel Mansell on the Isle of Man. He lists flying as about his only other relaxation, as much for its science as its excitement.
Well, this is that you have to do everything in a very smooth and controlled manner and plan everything. I think that's the nice thing about aviation. You treat these with a great deal of care, and you only fly them by the books, and you do your checks correctly, and that's the only way to fly any aircraft. I treat these with a great deal of respect, and these can really damage you when you do it wrong.
At moments like this, Pond can forget the 6R4, the multi-million-pound investment resting on his ability, but beyond the immediate pressure of getting through that first day of the RAC Rally, the chance at last of a World Championship victory.
Well, it would be absolutely wonderful. And then I could retire having got something on my mantelpiece that really is worth something.
Settle back into the helicopter and
yes,
relax.
Settle back in the helicopter, go to sleep.